Okay, so now we'll be discussing about the rabies virus. Rabies virus is basically a bullet-shaped virus, and this is how it looks under the electron microscope. Bullet-shaped virus. And reading its structure in detail, rabies virus is an enveloped virus which has a lipid bilayer, and it has about 10 nanometers long glycoprotein spikes or peplomers extending from the lipid bilayer, and the lipid bilayer internally it is lined by a matrix protein. Okay, this rabies virus, it has a nucleocapsid protein which consists of basically L and P proteins, which are RNA polymerases, and a single stranded negative sense RNA genome. Okay, so learning briefly about the glycoprotein and the nucleoprotein, both of these are basically antigenic components of the virus. The glycoprotein are basically the peplomeres or spikes which are embedded in the envelope. The nucleoprotein, whereas it is the capsid protein which is associated with the viral RNA, right? Glycoprotein is species specific, nucleoprotein is group specific, and it can cross react with rabies related viruses. Glycoprotein is the one which binds to acetylcholine in the neural tissues and help in the pathogenesis, but nucleoprotein has no role in pathogenesis. Okay, glycoprotein has a diagnostic role in antibody detection. Okay, which is right now it's obsolete, the hemagglutination part, whereas we detect antibody in the patient's serum, whereas nucleoprotein is of diagnostic value as the antigen which we detect in when we are suspecting a patient of rabies virus. We basically, the antigen which we detect is the nucleoprotein. Okay, we detect it by the direct immunofluorescence test, which we will be learning later. Glycoprotein is the one which induces neutralizing antibodies which are protective in nature, which will be seen in the vaccination part, and therefore it is used in vaccination in the purified form, whereas the nucleoprotein has no role in immunity. Okay, the rabies virus, it has an incubation period of an average incubation period of around 20 to 90 days, but it may range from over 1 week to 19 years. But the incubation period, it will be shorter in children if the bite is on head, neck or upper limb, in short people, in cases of severe laceration, in patients who have a genetic predisposition to the virus, in patients of low immunity, and if a high dose of inoculum is inoculated on the host, or the virulence of the strain is very high. In such cases, the incubation period shortens. Okay, now there are two concepts. One is known as the street virus and one is known as the fixed virus in case of rabies. The street virus is basically the wild variety, and this has long incubation period, and it forms intracytoplasmic inclusion bodies. Okay, but when the street virus is serially propagated brain to brain, for example in a rabbit, the street virus gets transformed to a fixed virus, and this fixed virus has certain properties distinct from the street virus. It does not form an inclusion body, it does not multiply in extraneural tissue such as salivary glands, and it has a rapid and short incubation period. Okay, now one thing which is pathognomic of rabies virus, which we see in autopsy, is the Negri body. Okay, these are the Negri bodies. These Negri bodies are basically eosinophilic intracytoplasmic bodies which have basophilic inner granules. Okay, and these Negri bodies are nothing but the virus protein and RNA combined. Okay, these are most commonly seen in the Purkinje cell of cerebellum or the hippocampal neurons. Okay, now seeing the pathogenesis, first of all, the rabies virus, it is transmitted by the bite of rabid animals. The rabid animals might be a dog, a raccoon, or maybe a bat or something. So after the bite of the rabid animal, the virus replicates locally in the muscle or the connective tissue, after which it binds to the ACH receptor at the neuromuscular junction. After binding to the ACH receptor, it spreads in a retrograde manner, which is in a centripetal manner, that is from the axon ending to the cell body. Okay, it basically travels retrogradely at a rate about 250 millimeter per day and reaches the dorsal root ganglion. After reaching the dorsal root ganglion, it ascends upwards to the CNS and reaches the hippocampus and the cerebellum, from where it then centrifugally spreads along the nerve. Centrifugally means from the cell body to the axon, and it centrifugally spreads to the salivary gland, the skin, the cornea, and the other organs. This is the basic pathogenesis of the rabies virus. The rabies virus basically is divided into 3 phases of clinical manifestation. The first one is the prodromal phase, followed by an acute neurological state, and followed by coma and death. The prodromal stage is around 2 to 10 days in length, and the patient will present with fever, malaise, photophobia, anorexia, vomiting, and nausea and such symptoms. Okay, the prodromal phase is followed by an acute neurological state. This acute neurological state rests for about 2 to 7 days, and it can be either encephalitic or paralytic. The encephalitic is also known as the furious rabies. It is characterized by 4 things: hyperexcitability followed by a lucid interval, continuing to autonomic dysfunction, and finally hydrophobia or aerophobia. Hyperexcitability involves anxiety, agitation, hyperactivity, bizarre behavior, and hallucination. After this hyperexcitability, the patient has a period of complete lucidity. Okay, and after this the patient has sympathetic dysfunction, which will involve increase in lacrimation, that means foaming of the mouth, increase in salivation, and increase in lacrimation means excessive tearing from eyes, increase in salivation, increased perspiration, gooflesh, cardiac arrhythmias, and priapism. Okay, after sympathetic dysfunction, the patient will have hydrophobia or aerophobia. Why does this happen is because when the patient tries to swallow water, there is involuntary and painful spasm of the larynx and pharynx. That's why the patient has fear to water, because the patient wants to avoid this excessive pain, and this is probably due to infected brainstem neurons. Okay, this is the encephalitic phase. The acute neurological phase might also present as a paralytic phase in case of a partially vaccinated individual, or in case of bat bites. Okay, in such a case the patient presents with flaccid paralysis, which basically begins in the limb to which the bite is there, and it then progresses to quadriparesis, that means paralysis of all the 4 limbs along with facial paralysis. The typical features of hydrophobia and all is absent in case of paralytic phase. Okay, after acute neurological phase, the patient finally rabies have almost 100% mortality, so the patient finally ensues to coma and death within around 14 to 30 days. Okay, now let us talk about how would you diagnose rabies. To confirm the diagnosis of rabies, we can do direct immunofluorescence test, in which we will detect the nucleoprotein antigen. And what is the sample that we take? The best sample is the hair follicle at the nape of the neck, or we can also take a corneal smear. This, since it is highly specific and highly sensitive, it is the gold standard for detecting rabies virus. Next, we can also do virus isolation by mouse inoculation or cell line inoculation. Cell line inoculation such as mouse's neuroblastoma or BHK cell. We can also do antibody detection. Which antibody? Antibody to the glycoprotein. Okay, we can either do it from serum or CSF. CSF is a better marker because early antibody production, and as well as vaccinated individuals will not show antibody in CSF basically, but whereas serum antibodies will appear late, and even vaccinated individuals will show serum antibodies. Okay, this can be done by this can be done via mouse neutralization test, or RFFIT, or indirect fluorescence immunoassay. We can also do viral RNA detection by reverse transcriptase PCR, taking a sample from the brain, saliva, or the skin. And the final pathognomic, or the confirmatory thing for rabies is basically Negri body detection, which is a post-mortem diagnosis. Okay, we either do the histopathological staining, or we may also basically label it by peroxidase and perioxidase, and we can detect it by immunofluorescence. Okay, now we have seen all about it, and now let us learn about the WHO categorization of the risk for rabies virus. The WHO has basically categorized the risk of exposure into three categories: 1, 2, and 3. 1 is no risk, 2 is minor risk, and 3 is major risk. No risk involves either touching or feeding of a rabid animal, licking on intact skin. In this case, if history is reliable, there is no treatment which is needed. Category 2 is minor scratches or abrasion without any bleeding or nibbling of uncovered skin. In such a case, we do the wound management, which involves cleaning the wound with soap and water, followed by providing antiseptic, which is povidone iodine or alcohol, and followed by suturing. Why suturing? Suturing basically prevents the spread of viral in the connective tissue and the retrograde transmission by neuron. And after wound management, we may give the patient rabies vaccine, and we must observe the dog for about 10 days. Category 3 is the major risk, which involves single or multiple transdermal bites with oozing of blood, licks on broken skin, or direct contact with bat or wild animal. In such a case, we do the wound management. We give the patient rabies immunoglobulin. We give the patient rabies vaccine too, and then we observe the dog for 10 days. Okay, now let's talk in detail about the rabies vaccine and the rabies immunoglobulin. Rabies immunoglobulin we basically administer only once and not beyond 7 days of vaccination. The maximum dose could be either 20 international units per kilogram of body weight in case of human rabies immunoglobulin, or 40 international unit in case of equine, which means horse rabies immunoglobulin. Okay, talking in detail about the vaccine is basically an egg derived non-neural vaccine. Why non-neural? Because neural vaccine are seen to be encephalotogenic. That means they can basically induce the symptoms of rabies in a human, and they have a high risk for mortality. Vaccine are of 3 types: from purified chick embryo cell, purified vero cell line, or human diploid cell. The purified chick embryo cell and human diploid cell are basically the fibroblasts which yield the non-neural vaccine. The vaccine can be either administered intradermal or intramuscular. If intramuscular, it may be administered at the deltoid or the anterolateral thigh. Anterolateral thigh in case of deltoid in case of adults, and anterolateral thigh in case of children less than 2 years. Never ever administer the rabies vaccine in the gluteal region. Okay. If we take the intradermal route, we administer about 0.1 ml of the vaccine, and in case of intramuscular route, we administer the entire vial. Now we'll see the regimen. If the patient is not priorly vaccinated, the post-exposure prophylactic regimen intradermally involves the 2-site intradermal vaccine, which is given on days 0, 3, and 7. Intramuscular, total 4 doses can be given. Either, there are 2 types in which we can give. Either we can give 1-site intramuscular vaccine on days 0, 3, and 7, and the 4th dose is given between day 14 to 28, or the 2-site intramuscular vaccine which is given on day 0 followed by a 1-site intramuscular vaccine on day 7 and 21. If the patient is already vaccinated, we might give either of these 3, either a 1-site intradermal vaccine on day 0 or 3, or a 1-site intramuscular vaccine on day 0 or 3, or a 4-site intradermal vaccine on day 0. Okay, we have to give it in either deltoid, thigh, or suprascapular region. Okay, this is about the post-exposure prophylaxis. In the pre-exposure prophylaxis, we basically administer pre-exposure prophylaxis only in 2 cases, either high risk or endemicity. Okay, only in these 2 cases we administer pre-exposure prophylaxis. Pre-exposure prophylaxis, we can either give 2-site intradermal vaccine on day 0 or 7, or 1-site intramuscular vaccine on days 0 and 7, and it is available for individuals of all ages. Booster is usually not required because the pre-exposure prophylaxis provides a lifetime protection, and if exposure is after giving the pre-exposure prophylaxis or the regimen, the rabies immunoglobulin is not necessary. Along with all of this, we can even immunize the dogs at the age of 3 or 4 months. We can either give BPL inactivated neural vaccine or oral recombinant glycoprotein vaccine. This is one of the ways by which we can prevent rabies. And that's it about rabies. Just revising it very quick. Rabies virus is a bullet-shaped virus. We learnt about its detailed structure. We saw glycoprotein G versus nucleoprotein. The incubation period can vary from 1 week to 19 years. These are the cases in which the incubation period is shorter. There is something known as street virus and something known as fixed virus. The pathognomic thing over here is the Negri body. Okay. And this is how this is the pathogenesis of rabies. From dog bite to local replication, binds to the ACH receptor, retrograde transport goes to the hippocampus or cerebellum, and then anterograde transport to salivary gland, skin or cornea. Laboratory diagnosis, we saw antigen detection, virus isolation, antibody detection, viral RNA detection, and Negri body detection. We saw 3 categories of risk and how do we manage it. We saw about vaccine, and we saw also about the rabies immunoglobulin, and we saw 2 regimens, the post exposure prophylaxis and the pre exposure prophylaxis. I hope you all understood.